Hey folks, welcome back. So today we're going to do hopefully a little bit of raking and baling of hay. Now before we get started on any of this, we got a little bit of stuff that we need to do to the rake here. I've got a guard that goes over a belt that looks like it's dropped down a little bit, maybe rubbing on the belt. There's also a tensioner that I think needs adjustment as well, so we'll get that done first. Just kind of check it over, make sure it looks like we're good to go, and then we'll get to some raking. Alrighty, well I think we got this in as good a shape as it's gonna be for now. It still needs some little bit more serious work on a few things, but it's nothing that's gonna hopefully keep us from being able to rake this field today and hopefully get it baled as well. Alrighty, well I got waylaid for 2 or 3 hours here after getting the raking done, but hopefully we're gonna get at least some baling. I would love to get all of it done, but at least get a good start on it here this evening. And that's assuming that the baler works, because I'm still not 100% convinced that everything is working the way it should be on there. We only did like 3 bales when we did the test a week or 2 ago, so this'll be the real deal test to see if it's gonna work the way that it's supposed to. Alrighty folks, so as you probably noticed, things did not get off to a good start yesterday evening when I was trying to do some baling here. I got about half a bale and I heard a ping and the shear bolt broke, and yeah. So what I did is I had 2 more shear bolts left at that point. I've got some more ordered, but they aren't going to be here till the end of the week. I adjusted the bale density setting on here to make it a little bit less dense, because I thought, well, maybe that'll put less stress on the machine and that'll help keep the shear bolt from breaking. It's worth a try anyways, because so far nothing else I've done has been able to solve the issue. So I adjusted that, I put in a new bolt, and I managed to get another 8.5 bales done. Notice the half. 8.5 bales done before it broke again. So at this point I'm down to 1 shear bolt. I called it a night at that point because it was getting a little bit late, and well, like I said, I had 1 left. So today I stopped over at the hardware store and I bought some bolts. They may work. It's not the exact one that's supposed to be in there, but we're gonna give it a try. See if it does anything, or whether it just kind of snaps as soon as we get any load on it. I don't know. We're gonna give it a try. I've got to try something, because it's gonna be a little bit before the real ones are gonna be in, and we're supposed to be getting some rain here in another day. So I really want to try getting this stuff up. So I'll put you guys on time lapse again, and hopefully it's a little more interesting than the last time lapse. we aren't quite done. We still got 1, 2, maybe 8 or 10 windrows on there. They aren't all the same length. I think that may be all we get. It's all we're gonna get for today. After the first time that I jammed it up, I kind of had this recollection of the guy that sold this thing to me telling me that if you get really dry hay, it doesn't work well and that it tends to bind up. I think it's just, it's so dry that it gets brittle and it starts breaking in there, and then your chains, the teeth aren't able to pull it back in and roll it up. When it still has some moisture in it, it kind of binds together better, I think. So, but as I was spending, you know, a half hour, 45 minutes cleaning it out that first time, that kind of came back to me. So I think after this last pile of hay, I think right there, that I had to pull out of there, and when you're pulling it out, it's just breaking apart into little tiny pieces. It's not holding together. So I think maybe if I'd gotten to this like a day earlier, we might have been able to get everything up. This is all we're gonna work on today. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go grab the Massey with the rake on it. We're gonna head to the back of the farm, rake that field, and head up there with the baler, and hopefully we'll have time to do that field up there this evening. Now that was cut, I think, a day after this field was, so hopefully that one might still be okay to try baling because it hasn't been down quite as long, but I guess we'll find out here in hopefully a few minutes. Not sure if you guys can see this or not, but there's a little baby praying mantis on the steering wheel of the Massey. It's not wanting to focus on the right thing here. Alrighty, I made it back up here with the 784 and the baler. I guess we'll go ahead and see if we can't get any bales made here this evening. I don't have a whole lot of light left, but I don't have a whole lot of field either, so it might work out. Alright, well I think that's going to be it for this evening. I've got 3 bales so far. I'm maybe halfway done, probably not quite halfway, something around in there. So I had to get another 3 or 4 bales out of this field, which, you know, that's not too bad considering how rough a shape this has been in over the last few years. It hasn't really had anything done with it, so, you know, I think that's not too bad. The tractor's just about out of diesel. I probably should have checked that before I brought it all the way back here, but I didn't, so I don't really want to run that out of diesel because then you have to bleed the lines and all that sort of stuff. And not that I've ever done it before on this tractor, but it's not fun. So that's another good reason to just call it for a night. I don't think we're supposed to get any rain until maybe tomorrow afternoon, so hopefully I can get out here and get the rest of this done before this stuff gets wet. Alright, well, we're back up here for round 2 this morning. We haven't gotten any rain yet, so hopefully it'll hold off for another, I don't know, hour or so. We can get the rest of this baled. As you can see, I brought up a couple cans of diesel here, so we're going to get this dumped in so we don't run out while we're doing this last little bit, and we'll be off to the races here in a minute. And no, I definitely do not have diesel in a gasoline can. Alrighty, well that does it for this back field. It's not super clean. I've got a few spots that I was kind of cutting and raking and baling around. They were a little bit rough. They had some kind of stemmy stuff in there, autumn olive and stuff, so I was kind of having to do little loops all over the place to get the stuff that I'd actually cut picked up. So it made it a little tricky to get all of it. I didn't quite get as much as I thought I was going to get out of here. I only ended up with about 4.5 bales. I think I had 3 last night. At that point, I think I said I probably was going to get another 3, so I didn't quite hit that number. If I'm really industrious and maybe a little bit lucky, I may get around to getting the rest of this kind of cleaned up before I try doing a second cut. If I do a second cut back here, and then I'll be able to do this whole area and not have to go around other little bits where I can't mow. I also need to do an adjustment on the pickup for the baler because it's not quite getting down low enough to get all the hay up. It does a pretty good job, but I do notice that in some areas it does leave a little bit left behind here. So the tines need to be dropped down a little bit lower so that it's digging down a little bit deeper and getting all that hay off of the ground. But all in all, it's working pretty well now that I got my new, definitely not factory specified pin in there. So if you're kind of wondering, what did you end up doing? First, I feel obligated to say that, you know, you should always do what your manufacturer's specifications are. But what I ended up doing is, this is an we're starting to get a little bit of sprinkles coming down here. It's a M6 bolt, so it's a metric bolt. It's not supposed to be metric, it's supposed to be a 12-24 inch and a half long bolt, but the M6 is slightly bigger. It barely fits in there. I mean, you had to get them lined up just perfect for that to go through. And in addition to that, it's a class 10.9, which I think is about equivalent to a grade 8 bolt. And the specified bolt that's supposed to go in here for the shear bolt is only a grade 5, so it's a little bit heavier duty bolt than what is supposed to be in there. So what could happen by putting in a stronger bolt is that something else could end up breaking before the shear bolt does, which could end up being a more expensive fix. But in my case, when it keeps on breaking the shear bolt and I can't figure out anything else that's wrong with it, I guess I'm kind of better off doing this way, but it's definitely not within the manufacturer's specifications. Alrighty folks, well that is gonna do it for today's video. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.